On behalf of the Philadelphia Housing Authority, also known as PHA, we want to personally thank you for participating in the Housing Choice Voucher Program, also known as HCV. PHA helps families find and afford safe, decent, and sanitary places to live in all of Philadelphia's unique neighborhoods. Today's briefing will provide you with important information you need to navigate in the HCV leasing process. You are a critical part of the HCV program's success. We expect the best out of our families, and we can't succeed without your promise to meet those expectations and be a positive member of your community. After today's voucher briefing, you will receive your voucher, and we want to wish you the best of luck in your housing search. For this training, my responsibilities as your presenter are to present today's information in a clear and concise manner, and to provide you with information on how you may ask questions or otherwise learn more information. Your responsibilities for this training include watching the entire presentation and paying close attention. Contact information will be provided at the end of the video. First, let us tell you a little about the Philadelphia Housing Authority. PHA was established in 1937 and is the nation's fourth largest housing authority. We develop, acquire, lease, and operate affordable housing for city residents with limited incomes. Our funding comes primarily from the federal government. Between our public housing and housing choice voucher programs, we house nearly 80,000 people in the city of Philadelphia, and we employ 1,200 people to deliver services to our clients. So what is the Housing Choice Voucher Program? Well, the HCV program helps income-eligible families pay for rental housing in apartments, duplexes, condominiums, single-family homes, and townhouses. As an HCV program participant, you will pay the owner or property manager a portion of the rent for the unit you live in, and PHA will pay the rest based on your income level. PHA's HCV program houses over 19,000 individuals and families and over 44,000 authorized household members through the Housing Choice Voucher Program. HCV tenants have an average annual income of $15,000 and pay an average monthly tenant portion of $400 to their private landlord. Over 5,000 private landlords participate in the program, and PHA pays over $12 million in rental assistance each month on our clients' behalf. Since 2001, PHA has participated in a special HUD demonstration program called Moving to Work, or MTW. The MTW program was established by HUD to allow housing authorities with flexibility to design and test different approaches for providing and administering housing assistance. An example of the program modifications HCV has developed under MTW include a 2-year lease term and biennial and triennial recertifications, that is, regular recertifications of your income and household composition every 2 or 3 years. For more information about MTW or the policies that govern the HCV program, please visit our website at www.pha.phila.gov. As part of your briefing packet, you should have received a booklet called Housing Search and Move-In Guide. We strongly recommend using the information in this booklet to help you locate and lease a unit. After this briefing, there are 6 required steps to move into a unit with your voucher. We will walk you through each step, explaining which steps you are responsible for completing and which steps PHA and the owner will complete. We'll begin with step 1 of the process, where you search for a place to live, also called a unit. When you receive your Housing Choice Voucher, you will have a specific amount of time to search for and find a unit. This is called a voucher term. New applicants will have a voucher term of 120 days. VASH new applicants will have a voucher term of 60 days. Emergency transfer and relocation families will also have a voucher term of 60 days. And other transfer families will have a voucher term of 90 days. Within your voucher term, you will need to find a unit and submit a request for tenancy approval form, also known as RFTA or RFTA. We will discuss RFTAs in step 2. To check your voucher term, refer to Section 2 and 3 of your voucher to see the issue date and expiration date. Since it may take you some time to find a suitable unit, you should begin to look for a unit as soon as possible. Before making a decision, you should look around and compare rents, options, and locations. There are many resources to help you find apartments available for rent. The resources that you can consider to assist you in finding the right unit are outlined on the next slide. We will review some of these factors in the next few slides. The Housing Search and Move-In Guide will provide you with more information on this topic. PHA uses occupancy standards to determine how many bedrooms are needed for your household, and this will help you determine what size rental unit to look for. Generally, PHA will determine how many bedrooms your household needs based on how many people are in your household and how they are related to each other. The table on the screen shows unit sizes by number of bedrooms in the first column and the minimum and maximum number of people that may occupy that unit size. You will find the number of bedrooms that PHA has determined your family needs in Section 1 of your voucher. You should look for a rental unit with this number of bedrooms. The Housing Search and Move-In Guide provides further information about PHA's occupancy standards and what you may do if you need an exception to them, such as a reasonable accommodation. When you're looking for a unit, you'll need to know how much you can pay for a unit. To do this, you'll need to have an idea of how much of your rent will be paid by PHA and how much will be paid by you to know what units you can afford. The total cost of your housing each month takes into account your income and the maximum amount of rent PHA will pay toward rent and utilities, which is called the payment standard. So, what is the payment standard? The payment standard is the maximum amount that PHA will pay toward rent and utilities. It is not the amount that can be requested for a rental unit. PHA will compare the payment standard to the rent that the owner requests for the unit you choose. When you are searching for a unit, you should generally look for units where the requested rent is at or below the payment standard. You can find more information about payment standards in the Housing Search and Move-In Guide and on PHA's website on the Payment Standards page. The payment standard is based on fair market rents, or FMRs, for the City of Philadelphia, as determined by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. The applicable payment standard is based on the lower of the payment standard amount for your voucher size or the payment standard amount for the unit size rented by your family. PHA has established 5 payment standard groups. Group 1, basic rents. Group 2, traditional rents. Group 3, mid-range rents. Group 4, opportunity rents. And Group 5, high opportunity rents. These tables illustrate how the payment standard groups work. The top table shows the payment standard groups and the applicable payment standard amounts based on unit size. For example, a household in Group 1 for basic rents that has a 3-bedroom voucher and rents a 3-bedroom unit will have a payment standard of $1,254. The bottom table shows the payment standard group you are in is based on zip code where the rental unit is located. For example, if you find a rental unit with a zip code of 19125, you would receive a Group 4 payment standard for opportunity rents. In this case, if you had a 3-bedroom voucher and rented a 3-bedroom unit, your payment standard would be $1,782. This is a map of the City of Philadelphia by zip code and by payment standard groups. Areas highlighted in blue are for Group 1, basic rents. Areas highlighted in gray are for Group 2, traditional rents. Areas highlighted in green are for Group 3, mid-range rents. Areas highlighted in yellow are for Group 4, opportunity rents. And areas in purple are for Group 5, high opportunity rents. Payment standards are not the only factor PHA considers when determining the rent it can approve under the HCV tenant-based voucher program. PHA also considers the requested rent and utility responsibility. PHA reviews the proposed rent and the utilities the tenant will be responsible for as listed in the RFTA. You must sign the RFTA before the owner submits it to PHA. PHA also considers market analysis. PHA uses third-party software to analyze the requested rent, comparing it to other non-assisted units in the private market. And PHA considers participant income, that is, affordability. PHA assesses whether the rent is affordable to the prospective tenant. Tenants may not pay more than 40% of their monthly adjusted income when moving into a new unit. It is possible that you may not need to search for a rental unit at all. If you'd like to continue to live where you are currently renting, the owner of your unit can submit an RFTA to request that your housing assistance be used for your current rental unit. It is important to keep in mind, though, that the unit must meet PHA's payment and occupancy standards and pass inspection. So, if you need to find a new rental unit, how can you find one? The internet is a good resource. You can often get a clear idea of what is available before you go out and look at units. pha.affordablehousing.com is our partner website. This website, formerly called Go Section 8, provides listings of affordable rental units available in Philadelphia. It also recommends if you need to search for an accessible unit, as it allows you to filter your search to view only accessible units. You can also view other websites, including but not limited to phahousingsearch.com, trulia.com, and realtor.com. Selecting a place that you and your family will want to reside for a long time is very important. There are many things to consider when selecting a unit that is right for your family. The Housing Search and Move-In Guide provides a list of questions to consider when choosing a unit. Questions such as, is the rent the owner is requesting higher than the payment standard? Is there enough space for you and your family? Are pets allowed? Are there too many stairs to get to your unit? Is the heating and cooling controlled by the tenant or the landlord? And are utilities included in the rent? You may also want to consider health and safety items when selecting a unit. For example, is the unit considered smoke-free housing? Pennsylvania law allows apartment buildings to be smoke-free. Smoke-free housing means that people cannot smoke in common areas such as hallways or the foyer and cannot smoke in the apartments. Smoke-free housing helps to protect you from tobacco smoke because even if you don't smoke, the smoke from another apartment can come into your apartment through the heating vents. Also, consider fire safety. For example, does the apartment have working smoke detectors? Are there fire exits, such as more than one door in your apartment? And consider whether there are bed bugs. Philadelphia ordinance requires landlords to get rid of bed bugs. Landlords are required to give you information about what to do if you have bed bugs when you sign your lease. It is important to know the hazards of lead-based paint and whether your unit may have lead-based paint. Children can get lead poisoning by eating lead paint chips and by breathing dust from lead paint. Lead poisoning can cause behavioral problems, learning disabilities, and other developmental problems. As an informed renter, you want to know if the unit has lead-based paint. To assist participants with protecting their family from lead in the home, PHA provides each family at Voucher Briefing with a copy of HUD's pamphlet entitled Protect Your Family from Lead in Your Home. This pamphlet is also available upon request. When you visit a unit, you should always check for peeling around the windows and porch, and ask the landlord if there have been problems with lead-based paint. Note that if you have a child under 6 years of age who tests positive for lead, PHA must receive a copy of the test results from a medical professional. If you have your child show symptoms such as loss of appetite, irritability, vomiting, slowdown of playful activity, slowness in development, or if you suspect that your child may have been exposed to lead-based paint, contact the Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program at 215-685-2788 to have your child tested immediately. You are the best person to decide what neighborhood is best for you. Each Philadelphia neighborhood will offer something different to an individual or family. You should decide what things are important to you. Some neighborhoods have lower crime rates. Some are closer to stores and parks, and some give you access to better schools and jobs. You'll want to think about some of the questions listed in this table when choosing a neighborhood. To check how good the schools in the neighborhood are, you could look for answers at www.greatschools.org. To see how safe the neighborhood is, you can go to www.neighborhoodscout.com. To learn about public transportation in the neighborhood, you can go to www.septa.org. Generally, with a PHA voucher, you should look for a unit in the city of Philadelphia. However, under certain conditions, you can search for a unit outside of Philadelphia. But before you complete a search and lease a unit outside of the city, you must request your PHA voucher to be transferred to another housing authority. This is called portability, and we will have more details later in the briefing. There are some other restrictions on what unit you can rent. You may not rent a unit if the owner is the parent, child, grandparent, grandchild, sister, brother, or any member of the family. PHA will only approve leasing a unit to a family member for a reasonable accommodation for a disability. Now, let's discuss opportunity areas. PHA encourages you to consider renting in an opportunity area which offers access to good schools, job opportunities, and safe neighborhoods. Opportunity areas are also categorized by low poverty rates. Though opportunity areas may have higher rents, PHA payment standards are generally higher in these areas and provide for larger subsidies so that you'll be able to take advantage of what they offer. This is a map of the city of Philadelphia. The areas highlighted in green are opportunity areas. The areas highlighted in yellow are considered high opportunity areas. PHA also offers additional housing search counseling through our Housing Opportunity Program, or HOP. A HOP mobility counselor will assist you in finding a home in a safe and secure community so you can focus on the priorities in your life, your children's education, starting a new career, or other ambitions and goals you may have for your family. Assistance provided by the Mobility Counseling Program helps families use their voucher to find and move into quality housing in top-rated communities throughout Philadelphia. When you join, mobility counselors will help you through every step of the leasing process, and you'll be able to take advantage of benefits such as workshops on home maintenance, financial management and tenant rights, unit search assistance, and referrals to landlords in opportunity neighborhoods. You can complete a Housing Opportunity Program interest form and submit it to your service representative. Staff from the Mobility Program will contact you shortly thereafter. Now, let's discuss what might happen if you cannot find a unit. We'll look at a few scenarios to see what could happen. Scenario number 1 is for new voucher holders. Let's say this is your first PHA voucher. In this case, you must select a unit and the owner must submit an RFTA for it prior to the voucher expiration date. If this doesn't happen, you'll forfeit the voucher. Now let's look at scenario number 2. In this case, you are already a participant in the HCV program, but now you have a new voucher and you're looking to move. If you cannot find a new unit, but your current unit and landlord are compliant with all PHA guidelines and HUD regulations, for example, and your unit has passed the Housing Quality Standards inspection, then you must remain in your current unit for an additional lease term. In scenario number 3, let's say you are a current HCV participant, but you've already moved out of your old unit, or you cannot stay there because your unit or landlord is not compliant with PHA guidelines and HUD regulations. For example, the unit you live in has failed a Housing Quality Standards inspection. In this case, if you cannot find a new unit, your voucher assistance may be terminated. You may want to know how to request an extension of your voucher. Well, you may request a voucher extension to receive additional time to search for a rental unit, but PHA will only approve an extension for certain reasons, including if you require a reasonable accommodation because someone in your household is disabled, if there was a serious illness or death in your household or another family emergency, if there are obstacles due to employment, or if the size of your household or other special circumstances make it difficult to find a unit that meets your needs. To request a voucher extension, you must complete and submit a voucher extension request form to our eligibility department. Voucher holders should continue to search for units until their voucher expires. PHA provides a 30-day grace period and will not cancel the voucher until at least 30 days after the voucher expires. For example, if your voucher expires on April 15th, you must request a voucher extension by May 15th. If PHA approves your request for a voucher extension, you will typically be granted an additional 30 days to search for a unit and have an RFTA submitted. Now, let's look at step 2 of the process, where you have found a unit you'd like to rent, and the owner of the unit submits a completed RFTA to PHA. Once you have found a rental unit that you would like to move into, you and the owner must complete the Request for Tenancy Approval Form, or RFTA. While the owner will complete most of the RFTA, you must complete the section required for the tenant. Both you and the owner must sign the RFTA. We recommend visiting PHA's website to review the RFTA instruction guide for more information. Make sure you review the proposed unit information section prior to signing the RFTA with the owner. In particular, check the street address listed here to ensure it's the unit you selected. Check the number of bedrooms to ensure it meets your household needs. Check the owner's requested rent from PHA to see if it's affordable according to your voucher size and payment standard. And check the owner's requested security deposit to ensure you can afford this amount. Review the utility, payment responsibility, and fuel type sections carefully so you understand what utilities you will be responsible for at the unit you have selected. Also, review the fuel type to see what type of fuel will power your heater, oven, and hot water. Review the information and sign into the Prohibition of Renting to or from an Immediate Family Member and Conflict of Interest section. Persons who have a reasonable accommodation to rent from a family member should not sign this section, but all other voucher holders must. Review, complete, and sign the lead-based paint tenant certification section. The owner will need to sign in this section as well. Review and sign the tenant-client signature section. The owner will need to sign in the owner-agent signature section as well. The owner or their representative, that is the property manager or agent, must submit the RFTA to PHA's owner portal at pha.hcvportal.org in the Moves section. There are some requirements for the owner of the rental unit you've chosen. The owner of the unit must have a valid Philadelphia rental license, remain current on all city, state, and local taxes, fines, assessments, and/or payment agreements related to real estate taxes. Agree to a 2-year initial lease agreement and an approved PHA contract rent. Have PHA approval before moving a voucher tenant into the unit. Maintain the unit in accordance with Housing Quality Standards, or HQS, including performance of ordinary and extraordinary maintenance. Comply with equal opportunity requirements. Comply with the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2013, also known as VAWA, when screening and terminating tenants. And in accordance with applicable fair housing laws and other requirements, be responsible for screening tenants prior to occupancy. Next, let's look at Step 3 in the process, where PHA inspects the unit you've chosen. PHA will schedule an initial inspection of the unit after receiving the completed RFTA. PHA works directly with the owner to handle inspections or re-inspections. You will not need to attend the initial inspection, but PHA recommends that you keep in touch with the owner during the inspection process. A certified Housing Quality Standards, or HQS inspector, will inspect your unit to ensure the unit is decent, safe, and sanitary. Some of the HQS requirements include ensuring that the unit has area for food preparation and storage, adequate space and security, heat, lighting, and electricity, quality structure and materials, acceptable interior air quality, acceptable water supply, no lead-based paint present, an acceptable site and neighborhood, smoke detectors, and proper ventilation. Now, let's look at Step 4 of the process, where PHA determines the rent for the unit. In this step, PHA must review the rent requested by the owner and determine if the rent is reasonable and affordable. PHA will approve the rent that the owner has requested if it is both reasonable compared to other rental units and affordable to you. You can see how much the owner has requested in rent in the proposed unit information section of the RFTA. The rent that the owner requests must be comparable to rent for similar unassisted units in the neighborhood or rental market. This is called reasonable rent. Units that receive HCV or another subsidy cannot be used for comparing rent. PHA will not approve rent that the owner requests if it is not affordable. PHA determines if rent will be affordable to you based on your adjusted monthly income. The amount you pay towards rent must be less than 40% of your adjusted monthly income. Note that you will generally pay a higher percentage of your adjusted monthly income toward rent when the rent of the unit you have chosen is higher than the payment standard. PHA will determine the minimum amount you must contribute toward rent and utilities. This amount is called a total tenant payment, or TTP. Your TTP is calculated using a formula based on your income. The table on this slide provides the guidelines for your TTP. Your TTP is a percentage of your monthly adjusted income based on your family size. If there are 1 or 2 persons in your household, your TTP will be 28% of your adjusted monthly income. If there are 3 to 5 persons in your household, your TTP will be 27% of your adjusted monthly income. And if there are 6 or more persons in your household, your TTP will be 26% of your adjusted monthly income. However, if you are a participant of the Voucher or Mainstream program, you will pay 30% of your adjusted monthly income. This slide shows an example of a rent subsidy calculation. Let's say you find a unit in a zip code where the payment standard is $600. The gross rent for the unit is $800. Note, the gross rent is the rent the owner asked for plus an amount you'll need to pay for utilities. Now, let's say you're in the Voucher or Mainstream program, so your rent contribution is 30% of your adjusted monthly income, and that is calculated at $500. PHA will now look at 2 calculations: the difference between the payment standard and your rent contribution, and the difference between the gross rent and your contribution. PHA will pay the lesser of the 2 amounts. In this case, the payment standard of $600 minus your rent contribution of $500 is $100. The gross rent of $800 minus your rent contribution of $500 is $300. Since $100 is less than $300, PHA will pay $100 towards your rent. The next step is step 5, where you get to sign your lease. PHA will send you an initial rent letter to inform you that the unit has been approved and that you can now sign the lease and move into the rental unit you have chosen. Note, you should not sign a lease or pay a rent or security deposit before you receive the initial rent letter from PHA. If the owner asks you to make a payment and the unit fails inspection or the rent could not be approved, you could lose your money. Once you have received your initial rent letter, contact the owner to schedule a lease signing. At that time, you will work with the owner or property manager to schedule a move-in date and arrange for when you can get your keys. You may also pay your security deposit at that time. Let's talk about what a security deposit is. An owner collects a security deposit to pay for rent you did not pay or any damage to the unit that is not from normal use when you move out. You will give the owner a security deposit when you sign the lease. Under Pennsylvania landlord-tenant law, a landlord may charge a tenant the equivalent of 2 months' rent for the security deposit for the first year of tenancy. Please note, PHA does not assist with the security deposit and only provides rental assistance. Finally, we reach step 6, where you get to move into your new home. Congratulations! Once you've reached this step, you are now an official HCV program participant. PHA recommends that you inspect the rental unit with the owner once you have signed the lease. At this time, you should walk through the unit with the owner and document any damage that you notice or repairs that may be required. PHA also recommends that you take pictures of any damage to the unit to protect yourself when you move. Both you and the owner should sign to confirm you agree on the items documented. Here are some resources you can use in your new home. The City of Philadelphia's website at www.phila.gov or the information line at 311 are great resources to find the city council person and state representative for your neighborhood, the local police district and local fire department, your neighborhood's trash day, and your local public and charter school locations. Now, let's talk about your responsibilities to PHA and the owner of your unit now that you are an HCV participant. You must make timely payments to the owner or property manager and utility companies. You must obey the requirements of the lease you signed with the owner. You must keep your unit in the same condition as when you moved in. Any damage beyond normal wear and tear can affect your security deposit, prevent you from moving, and or result in your termination from the HCV program, even after you moved out. You must make the unit available for PHA and owner inspections. And you must complete required PHA recertifications, which we will discuss later in the briefing. As an HCV participant, you have certain obligations. You're obligated to provide any information requested by PHA, maintain your unit, pay your rent and other financial obligations, honor all provisions of your lease and comply with all HCV program requirements, report changes in family composition when required, report changes in income when required, notify PHA of family absences, and the assisted unit must be your family's only residence. This slide lists things you should not do. While you are an HCV participant, you must not commit any serious or repeated violations of the lease, commit fraud, bribery, or any criminal act in connection with the program, assign the lease, sublet the unit, or rent out a room in the unit or transfer the unit, own or have any financial interest in the unit, but note that PHA allows some exceptions for owners of co-op apartments. Receive HCV assistance while receiving another housing subsidy for the same unit or for a different unit under any duplicate housing assistance program. Engage in a profit-making business or activities in the unit unless the activities are approved by the landlord or are in accordance with the lease, is legally permissible, and is not the primary use of the unit. Engage in any drug-related criminal activity, violent criminal activity, other criminal activity, or alcohol abuse that threatens the health, safety, or right to peaceful enjoyment of other residents. Receive HCV program assistance while residing in a unit owned by a parent, child, grandparent, grandchild, sister, or brother, or any member of the family. You should not damage the unit or premises or permit any guest to damage the unit or premises, or engage in threatening, abusive, or violent behavior toward any PHA personnel. Maintaining your property helps maintain a good relationship with your owner or property manager. Why is it important to maintain your unit? Well, it decreases stress and promotes relaxation, it keeps the property in good condition, and it increases your chances of a full refund on your security deposit. When maintaining your unit, it's important to keep it clean, maintain the appliances, and report repair needs immediately. See your guide for more tips on home maintenance. PHA will periodically inspect your unit. Your unit must continue to meet the housing quality standards while you're there to keep your home safe, healthy, and comfortable. Inspectors sent by PHA will visit your unit to make sure it is decent, safe, and sanitary. A PHA inspector might need to visit your unit to perform any number of inspection types. These may include an annual or biannual inspection, that is, a regular inspection once or twice a year. A quality control inspection. This is where one PHA inspector is checking the work of another. A compliant inspection. This is typically where you or the owner request a special inspection for a specific problem. And or a 24-hour emergency inspection. This is when your home has an emergency maintenance issue such as no heat in the winter, and PHA checks to make sure it was fixed within 24 hours. PHA will regularly conduct recertifications. A recertification or regular recertification is a review of your household's income and composition. PHA is required to monitor each household's income and composition over time and to adjust the household's rent accordingly. This includes gathering and verifying current information about your household's composition, income, and expenses. Based on the updated information provided, your household's income and rent will be recalculated. PHA schedules regular recertifications based on the voucher program and type of household. VASH voucher holders will have annual recertifications, that is, every year. Most families, including those who are MTW clients, those with unit-based vouchers, and homeowners will have biennial recertifications, that is, a regular recertification every 2 years or every other year. Elderly and disabled households on fixed incomes are eligible for triennial recertifications, that is, a regular recertification every 3 years. For any recertification, all documents must be provided to PHA within 5 business days from the date of PHA's request. If you are unable to obtain the information or materials within the required time frame, PHA may provide a reasonable extension as necessary. If you do not provide the required documents or information within the required time frame, plus any extensions, you and the owner will be sent a pending termination letter. PHA also has something called interim recertification. An interim recertification is a recertification that occurs at a time other than your regularly scheduled recertification. Your household circumstances may change throughout the period between recertifications, and you may need to report these changes for PHA to process an interim recertification. Interim recertifications may be conducted online, via U.S. mail, or in person. The head of household and any household member reporting a change are required to sign documents and provide information for an interim recertification. Based on the type of change reported, PHA will determine the documentation you will be required to submit. Certain changes require that a household come in for an interim recertification, while other changes are at the discretion of the family to report. Now, let's discuss the Violence Against Women's Act, also known as VAWA. The Violence Against Women's Act is a federal law that was passed to protect victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. And it protects any victim of these crimes, not just women. If you are an applicant who is or has been the victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, you cannot be denied HCV program assistance or admission if you otherwise qualify for assistance or admission. You'll find more information about this in your voucher briefing guide. Let's talk about transfers. Once you are a participant in the HCV program, you may transfer to another unit after your initial lease period is up. But before you move, you must obtain a move voucher from PHA. If you move without prior approval from PHA, you risk losing your subsidy. You must notify your current unit owner of any pending move. You may seek to transfer to a new unit at recertification or at any lease anniversary date after the initial lease term is complete if you are elderly or disabled and on a fixed income. Your request to move must be received by PHA no earlier than 120 calendar days and no later than 90 days prior to the initial lease term end, your recertification effective date, or your lease anniversary date. PHA will not approve a move outside of your recertification period except under extenuating circumstances. As a participant in the HCV program, your rent assistance can move along with you. Under certain verified conditions, you can transfer your voucher to other counties or states as long as the area has a housing authority. This is called portability. To port to another housing authority other than PHA, you will first need an active voucher, whether it is your first voucher on the program or a transfer voucher. A participant or applicant family with an active voucher must be able to verify employment, education, safety, or medical or disability need in order to qualify for a move to another jurisdiction. This is called a port out. PHA will require the family to provide all documents that PHA deems necessary to verify the family's need to relocate outside of PHA's jurisdiction. All verification documents must be dated within 60 days and be consistent with the family's employment, education, safety, or medical or disability need. If the family fails to provide verification documents and/or the documents provided are not sufficient, PHA will deny the request to port out. Now, let's discuss fair housing. It is important to understand the basic rights provided to you under the fair housing laws. There are different laws that protect discrimination based on race, color, religion, natural origin, sex, including sexual harassment, age, ancestry, familial status, disability, gender identity, sexual orientation, military discharge, source of income, marital status, and any order of protection. Fair housing laws require an owner to treat all applicants the same, but fair housing laws do not require an owner to rent to anyone. Owners have the right to screen applicants based on legal guidelines and procedures. If during your housing search you feel you were discriminated against, go to www.hud.gov or visit our office and complete a housing discrimination complaint form, which is Form HUD-903.1. Next, we'll discuss terminations. So what is a termination? A termination is PHA removing a participant from the HCV program. HUD requires PHA to terminate a participant if the participant violates the obligations of the family listed on the voucher or lease, and when a participant is no longer eligible for assistance. If terminated, you will no longer receive rental assistance from PHA. Before PHA terminates a participant, the participant will receive a notice to terminate housing assistance payments letter from their PHA representative. The notice will state why assistance is being terminated and when. A copy of the termination letter is located in the Program Forms and Documents section of the reference guide. The notice will also include a hearing request form if you wish to appeal the termination, which is also viewed in the Program Forms and Documents section. If any of the following situations apply to you or a family member, PHA may terminate your assistance. Failure to recertify. And please note, this is the number one reason families are terminated from the program. PHA may also terminate assistance for unreported income to PHA, unauthorized occupants in your unit, non-payment of rent or eviction, non-payment of utilities the tenant is responsible for, subletting or renting a room in your unit, moving without PHA approval, failure to be a good neighbor in your community, and or failure to repair tenant-caused violations in your unit. Please note, this list is not inclusive. So, what can you do if you disagree with a PHA decision? When PHA makes a decision that has a negative impact on a family, the family is often entitled to appeal the decision. For applicants, the appeal takes the form of an informal review. For tenants or for applicants denied admission because of citizenship issues, the appeal takes the form of an informal hearing. If you wish to dispute PHA's decision, you are allowed to request an informal review or hearing. If you wish to request an appeal, you must return the completed appeal form to PHA within 10 business days from the date of the denial or termination notice. See the Program Forms or Documents section of your reference guide for PHA's informal review and informal hearing request forms. Now, let's look at the types of programs PHA offers. Not only does PHA help you afford quality housing for you and your family, PHA offers programs and services to help you achieve personal goals. These may include the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which assists voucher holders with accomplishing career goals and saving money. There is also the HCV Home Ownership Program, which assists voucher holders with working toward home ownership and purchasing a home with your voucher. And there is the Mobility Counseling Program, which assists voucher holders with relocating to top-rated communities within the city of Philadelphia. If you or anyone in your family is a person with disabilities and you require a special accommodation in order to fully utilize our programs and services, please contact a representative after today's briefing. Contact information for our customer call center will be provided near the end of this training video. Please refer to your voucher briefing guide for more information. Information may also be found in the Housing Search and Move-In Guide. We must discuss fraud because taxpayers fund housing assistance programs like the HCV program, and just the appearance of fraud or corruption in the system could affect the public's confidence in the program. PHA's Office of Audit and Compliance, or OAC, is responsible for eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse by participants receiving rental assistance from the Philadelphia Housing Authority. Some examples of prohibited actions include allowing unauthorized occupants who are not on a lease to live in your unit, subleasing or renting out a room in your unit, and failure to report all of your household income. PHA uses something called upfront income verification. Upfront income verification, or UIV, is PHA's use of verification tools available from independent sources that maintain computerized information about your earnings and benefits. PHA has access to various income verification systems with connections to employment, welfare, Social Security and SSI, child support, pensions, and unemployment. Failure to report all of your family's income sources could result in the termination of your voucher assistance or require you to pay back money to PHA for overpaid rent. If you failed to report all of your income sources on an HCV application, please contact your PHA representative after the briefing. So at this point, you still may have questions about the HCV program. Whenever you have a question, you should contact the PHA Customer Call Center at 215-684-4300. For TDD, use 215-684-4300. 684-4384. The PHA call center is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If a call center representative cannot answer your questions, they will forward the inquiry to someone who can. Generally, if your questions cannot be answered during the initial contact, PHA staff will respond within 3 business days. PHA's HCB office is located at 2013 Ridge Avenue in Philadelphia. The HCB program office is open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you walk in without an appointment, you may be able to complete tasks such as request an appointment, request general information, request an inspection, check the status of your new unit, drop off requested documentation, and/or request a hearing. So here is the final overview of the HCB leasing process. Search for a unit. When you find a unit, the owner submits the request for tenancy approval or RFTA form to PHA. PHA then inspects the unit. PHA then determines the rent amount, you and the owner sign the lease, and then you get to move into your new home. Now, let's do a final review of important items. Be sure that you understand that you are receiving a Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher, and it's your responsibility to find a unit. You understand your voucher issued to you today is for the Philadelphia Housing Authority's jurisdiction, which is in Philadelphia County. You understand you are responsible for your own security deposit. You understand you must find a unit prior to the expiration date of the voucher term. You understand that an additional voucher extension is only granted for documented extenuating circumstances and is not guaranteed. You understand that if you're an applicant and you are unable to locate a unit, you will forfeit your voucher. And you understand that if you are a participant and you're unable to locate a unit, you must remain in your current unit for an additional lease term. Also, be sure that you understand that if you vacate your current HCV unit and fail to lease another HCV unit, your voucher assistance may be terminated. You understand that your payment standard represents the maximum level of subsidy for your selected unit. You understand that you have protections under the VAWA and Fair Housing Acts. You understand that if you or anyone in your family is a person with disabilities, you may request a reasonable accommodation to fully utilize the program. You understand that you cannot have unauthorized occupants in your HCV unit. You understand that you must report all household income. You understand that failure to report all income sources could result in the termination of your voucher assistance or require you to pay back money to PHA for overpaid rent. And you understand that you must report changes in your income at least 2 business days before lease signing. Failure to report income changes could delay or cancel your lease signing. This completes today's presentation. Thank you for attending PHA's Voucher Briefing. We wish you all the best in your housing search.